is probably one of the most fundamental years of our lifetime. 2025 is bringing all of the outer planet change one can handle. We're having transits from Saturn to Neptune to Uranus, and right now we're going to be talking about the nodes of the moon. Our focus has been for the past 18 months on the planets Mars and Venus, because the North Node was in Aries and the South Node was in Libra. Currently, we are going through this transition of this 18-month period. The nodes changed on January 11th, and it will continue through this process of going backwards through the signs of Virgo and Pisces, and that will change on July 20th of 2026. So the South Node is in Virgo, and we'll be focused on Mercury. Now, Mercury, from a Virgo standpoint, is going to be polishing. It's going to be fixing and making things functional. It's going to be cooperative and coming together. It's going to want to clean things and make things neat and put things in boxes, and to think about things in a aesthetically pleasing way. So there's going to be a lot of thought around, the body, the mind, and, whether those things need to be changed or self-developed in a certain way. But then we're also really going towards the North Node in Pisces. Now, with the North Node in Pisces, we'll be focused on Neptune. So like I said, Neptune will be changing signs here pretty soon, but for right now, Neptune is in the sign of Pisces, and we are detoxing. We're removing delusion and the rubbish. We are losing and gaining faith in some of our world leaders, the people who make decisions for us all. And there is a loss of innocence in certain things. People are, getting scammed, they're doing things in their lives that really don't have the process to see things for the way they are. They'll also be kicking off a new eclipse season. So that'll be beginning in March and ending in September. So this nodal axis is huge. Hi, my name is Key Tyler. This is Astrology in the Wild. And here I am discussing large planetary aspects, small ones, and little ones in between. But today we're discussing something super important because I really feel like with evolutionary astrology and the nodes of the moon, it kind of gives us a really big clue on the planets to really get ourselves moving. Things that support us, things that don't support us, and what we're probably going to see more of. So when we think of the nodes of the moon, and in a perspective of looking at the planets that are associated with it all throughout the 18 months, we're going to get a clear vision on, all right, if we are changing our personal perception and really focusing deeply on something, let's focus on these two planets and kind of see how things go. So Mercury and Neptune are really coming together to show us where our delusions lie and to give us more function rather than letting things go awry or letting things go for too long. Please subscribe. It will help this channel greatly. Thank you. The nodes of the moon change every 18 months. So the last time that we were in this cycle, it was Aries Libra. Now, the last time that we were in this Virgo Pisces energy was 18 years ago in 2006. And when it changed over, it was in the season of Cancer. Now we're in the season of Capricorn. So that's the polarity there. It's really showing us and completing the cycle of, this 18-year culmination. Where are you developmentally when it comes to your Mercury? Where are you developmentally when it comes to your Neptune? You will figure that part out in the 18 months, and you'll be strengthening that. You'll be looking to strengthen that. So I do want to recommend for anybody that loves astrology and likes to know more about the depths of certain planets, especially the outer planets. I feel the outer planets are special to my heart because they represent a generation of people. What are people going to be moving towards? Anyways, when I talk about Neptune and the way that it, works in our lives, a lot of my concepts do come from my teacher's book and his teachings to me over the course of almost 5 years, which is Neptune, the 12th house, and the timeless truth. So you can get this on Amazon, and I find that it is a really good source for, being able to look at your own Neptune placement, but then also it, goes through all of the situations that, maybe in history has maybe validated some of those concepts. And through my own development and just through our own thesis of going through the diploma program, I have too been able to verify, some of these things even throughout my own life and looking at a greater collective. So these concepts are not willy-nilly. They're heavily researched, and we are pushed to heavily research it ourselves so that we can back this up, right? This is why it's so important to have a teacher. This is why it's important to have credible sources, people that you can go to learn from, which I think is probably a really important thing right now because Jupiter is in Gemini and will be for some time. So it's accentuating this Mercury aspect with Virgo, and it's saying, hey, how can I make things better? How can I be a better person out in the world? How can I be better with disseminating my information? And so I think things are going to come to light. Things are going to be made bigger. That's what Jupiter kind of does for our life. So I just talked about that Neptune book. It talks about career. It talks about your work life. It talks about career development because Virgo represents the 6th house and Neptune represents the 12th house. So in the natural wheel, we're dealing with 6th house and 12th house matters. So as a collective, we are really trying to come to head with our daily habits. We're trying to come to head with, is our health aligned? Are there things missing? Are we paying attention to our healthy bodily functions? Do we feel a certain kind of way and we're ignoring it? Or, is it a 12th house thing where, where we are kind of learning from our mistakes and we are, trying to strengthen our immune system, and immune system being just our ability to take on the weather of life, being able to take on things and have resiliency. And that usually takes an immune function that's strong, whether that's inner bodies and an outer exterior function. So that's what the 12th house, that's kind of what Neptune and Pisces is bringing us is, where are we deluded? Where are we not seeing things? And I think a lot is going to come to light. It does kind of carry a watery aspect, right, of bringing things out into the open, really allowing a process to bubble up and for everybody to see what's been happening under the surface. So Pluto has that ability, the moon has that ability, but also so does Neptune. So we're working through this as a collective of people. So one analogy that I wanted to talk about that I thought was super indicative of what we'll be dealing with. So I have this really cool coffee maker, and it's a 9-cup coffee maker that you take apart, and it's got 2 gaskets inside and a little basket, and you put your coffee grounds in there and you put it together, put it over the stove, and you make delicious espresso, right? I drink decaf because, boy, my ticker couldn't handle all that caffeine, right? So over the year that I've had it, because I found it, I have been known to, go throughout the San Francisco Bay Area and all of its neighboring cities and just walk around the neighborhoods. And on this part of the world, in the Western world, we sometimes put our stuff out on the sidewalk. And I know it happens everywhere, but I don't know how it happens for you. But there was this coffee maker and it was barely used. So I've used the heck out of it for over a year. And the gaskets are stretched out. So I went on Amazon to look for a new coffee maker. And I'm looking around and I'm finding things that I like, but they're like $40. And I'm like, my Mercury, my money, and like how much of it I have is very, very important to me. And I cannot delude myself into thinking that I can just go out and buy whatever. I've got to be very mindful, right? So what I did was I just looked for the components that were broken, that are, overly used, Neptune, that have been abused, Neptune, that need to be maintained, Mercury, Virgo. And so I bought the little gaskets, $7. I get 4 of them in a pack. And now I get to keep my coffee maker for a long time. So I saved myself $32 thinking that, I'm able to maintain this thing. I'm able to manage the thing that I like, which is a very Virgo Mercury process. And the Neptune Pisces is, showing us that like the world is kind of breaking down in terms of resources, in terms of access. And so what do I need to do in order to preserve what I have so that I can keep what I love and what makes me happy longer? So that's kind of like the position that we're in. Another thing that just happened today. So my sweet stepdaughter was out on a walk. She likes to walk like me. It's a Leo function. We prowl our areas. So she finds this really fine 50-inch TV that has been wrapped beautifully. The cords have been put together, the remote, everything. It's on the side of the road. Normal thing that people do. Usually they leave a sign, but this one was just mysteriously out there, right? So she calls. We go, her mom goes to pick her up, and they go get the TV. They bring back the TV, and the TV does not work. And she's like, well, I thought because everything was wrapped together and it looked nice that it would work. Such a Virgo function. And then Neptune showed up to say, no, not everything that looks nice is what it is. Sometimes you can be deceived. Sometimes you can judge a book by its cover, whether it be good or bad. And so we have to be super mindful of that process. And she, of course, will learn over the years of what to get and what not to get, but those are the things that we have to be acutely aware of. So this chart is explosive. It's dynamite. It is change. It is looking for a new awakening. And so it's rising into a new experience. I want to put focus on Mercury and Neptune. Let's talk about it as the nodes changed on the 11th, and really particularly what the planets are singing to us. As we're looking at the North Node in Pisces, we're focused on Neptune, and Neptune is right on the node, and it will be there for some time. And so it's really accentuating the fact that we are coming to grips, we are coming to light, we are making ourselves stronger. We've just gone through all this Aries and Mars phase. Okay, so have we built a tough enough system to deal with what's going to happen? In a lot of places, leadership is changing. Saturn is going to be changing into Aries, Neptune is changing into Aries. So there's this like change in leadership. There's this change in world thought. It's a change in how a lot of people are collectively thinking and wanting to maneuver and be together, how they associate with one another. So there's a lot of things that people are being more compassionate about. And, I think that we'll see that as time rolls on, because, we're coming towards a new expression. And what really stands out again about this accentuation of authority and leaders and where we get our information, where we get our credible, reliable news or ideas or, people that we look to, we can see that with Mercury in the sign of Capricorn right now, that we are looking for that, this credibility. All of those words I mentioned are a Capricorn function. So the South Node is in Virgo. We're focused on Mercury. We have been seeing a lot of this, what we thought we could trust, what we thought we could rely on, and Neptune's like, maybe not. Maybe we need to go a new way. So there's a lot of change of thought. It's not so concrete because, the foundation is kind of muddy still, we're trying to develop ourselves in a new way because we're seeing that the results are not exactly what we want. We've tested the things out and not everything has come in the way that we hoped. So this is a breaking down of like our own thoughts and beliefs and, the things that we can't control. So we'll be dealing with control big time. Whether we feel controlled, whether we feel other people are under control, whether we feel we have control over certain situations that happen, we will be able to see that because Neptune in Pisces, the North Node function, will represent things like, the gas and oil system, because Pisces represents that. It'll represent the oceans and nature and everything that we collectively think about in terms of that will come up to question. And we'll also be thinking about the form and function of that. How do we fix it? How do we come in better relationship to all of these things? As the world is changing, as we're going through the cycles, Mercury, of course, is a way faster planet than Neptune, so there's going to be a lot of lessons throughout this process. But first and foremost, we have to come to a development of understanding what's real and what's not. And there's a big essence of what's true and what's not, what's visible, what can be seen. Um, analyzing the details, analyzing the details in great form so that you are able to move with better acuity. So really focusing on, the betterment of you, because the betterment of you spreads. And if we're all collectively working on better function in our lives, it kind of is like this permaculture function where it just kind of like grows to our neighbor and grows to the person up the street. And pretty soon we're all talking about making sure that we protect ourselves, making sure that we put up barriers, making sure that we take and do the right things. So if you are in this moment, if you are feeling propelled to move your body, Virgo is like, hey, it doesn't need to be about whether you're skinny or not. It has to do with how your body feels. And if you feel happy, if you feel elated, that's what brings happiness, Neptune. So there's a lot of this, right? But all of this language is the Virgo Pisces. Until March 30th, before Neptune changes into Aries, we are making sure that we are breaking down all of the things. We are being little detectives. We are checking and taking our tests and making sure that we are well resourced, that we have enough of it, because what we're going into with Neptune and Aries is a completely different expression. We're all reinventing ourselves in new ways, collectively and individually, because you all have Neptune in your chart. You all have Aries there as well. So there's this cosmic thing that's happening for us all. And when we get to that point, when Aries hits and we're ready to express ourselves in this like very new way, we want to remember where we've been so that we are not making the same mistakes, because we're going to be coming from a different level of survival. We're no longer going to be so lax about particular things. And I think, 3 months is 2-3 months is enough time to see what those ideas are for you in your life, how it impacts you personally, because everybody's chart is different, but in a nutshell, I'd say that this is a super important time for Mercury, because I did mention earlier, so Jupiter is in the 3rd house of this chart, because I did put the north node of the moon on the ascendant so that we could all collectively look at the nodes together, as like an Aries function, like this is what's rising. And it puts Gemini in the 3rd house, and it puts Jupiter and Gemini there. And that is really accentuating the Mercury function. It's really blowing things up, right? Making things bigger, making things more visible, seen. There's more words for it. There's more ideas around it. There's seeing the exterior around us change. And we'll start to notice, different beliefs around, what's been happening. And people might start to believe in different things. So as we talk about belief, with Jupiter there, it's going to be, squaring the Saturn. There is this essence of like people wanting to believe in something different and looking at their religious associations, their theosophical associations, their, you name it, when it comes to beliefs. All of that is being rattled and shaked. And so you might see a lot of people, changing religions or being born again, or, adopting a particular belief or thought process that's, could be rigid to some or different to others, but, that's what beliefs elicit, is just kind of this differing of opinions. So there's going to need to be an opening of tolerance, for people who decide to change their minds and go a different way. And I think that could be really important. So last thing, as we are talking about, spiritual connections and how the world strikes us, and, what we want to do about the earth and how we want to connect to her. It's important to note that we can't do everything in 18 months, that it's a very gradual and slow process that we have to work at daily. So don't get too flustered about what's happening. Just notice that, like, oh, that means I need to, that's what a lot of this is. It's just kind of recognizing when it's happening so that you're fully aware, because awareness breeds change over time. Last part is the eclipses that'll be happening this year. So the nodes of the moon are the ones who control the eclipses. And so when the moon and the sun are on that nodal axis, we will be having eclipses during that time. And so we'll be having it during Pisces season and when we are under the influence of Virgo. So in the beginning of the spring, before the beginning of the spring, and then basically before fall or end of summer time. So it will be a very interesting thing as we're like coming out of something and then we're completing something and finishing in this earthly fashion, because Virgo is earth. And so this is a lot of earth and water interplay, and there could be a lot of, muddy waters. So just be careful, be mindful about what you're looking at, be mindful about where you're getting your stuff from, have them be credible sources of information for you so that you can be well prepared for the next stages of where you want to be. Let's have a wonderful 18-month cycle with these two energies. We'll be here together. And I'm wishing you the best of luck